Hey guys, Farmer Nick here. Today we're going to be doing some indoor composting, and we've been generating a lot of food scraps recently because we're probably cooking more and more inside as we practice social distancing with the coronavirus. And so composting at your home is actually a really great way to give back to the earth after we've taken so much from the earth in the form of all of our food. And so today we're going to be learning about the science of composting and making a little composting fixture ourselves. And so the way composting works is that we put food into the bin, and that attracts things like bacteria and fungus that help break down the food into smaller components. And that becomes soil eventually. It becomes a really great soil amendment. And so this is a really great way for us to give back to the earth, help plants regrow again, and it's very simple to do. And as you can see, I don't have a very large kitchen, but I can still do composting at home. And so all you need is some sort of container that you can fasten on top with a lid. You'll need some sort of mixing device, and if your lid isn't already porous, you're going to want something to maybe drill holes into the lid. And then of course we have some things that we will compost in a little bit. And so I'm going to start by drilling 9 holes in this lid, and then I'm going to drill an even larger hole in order to empty out excess moisture if we need it to. The way composting works is that we put food scraps into the bin, and then that attracts certain bacteria and fungus that helps break down the food and turn it back into soil. And so even though the actual science of composting can be kind of complex at times, doing composting is not really all that hard. All you need to really consider is what you're putting in, the level of water in the bin itself, and making sure that you're getting enough air to all of those microorganisms. Now I have my 9 different holes with a larger hole towards the edge here so that I can drain any excess moisture that builds up in the compost bin. And so what you want to consider when putting things into your compost are the colors of the things that you're putting in and whether or not those things can actually be composted. So we're talking about organic materials, food scraps, clippings from plants, things like that. Things you want to avoid include meat products, dairy products, fats and oils. Those are things that are much more difficult to compost and could lure unwanted things to your compost bin. And so we want to stick with things like food scraps like we have here. I have things such as eggshells. Put those right in. We have banana peel. I make sure to take off the sticker before putting that in here. I've got some some blackberries that started to rot. I've got some stems from mushrooms that we did not use in cooking. We have a ton of wrapping from onions and garlic. Here we have some stalks from cilantro. I'm going to remove the fastener here. And so one of the main things you want to consider when adding things to your compost bin is if you're getting a good spread of different colors. You want to have a good amount of greens, a good amount of browns, and you don't want anything that's going to retain too much moisture. And so we're going to put the rest of this right into the compost bin. You can also put in things like coffee grounds like this, which have quite a bit of water right now. And as you can see here, we've got a decent amount of water built up on the bottom there. And so that's why we drilled a hole in the top of our compost bin so that we can easily pour some of that excess moisture out. Now, we don't necessarily need to do it right now since we just put in the coffee grounds, but if you have a lot of water sitting on the bottom of your composter for a long time, it's probably going to start to smell. And so that's why we have our hole. We can find our hole and pour the excess moisture out. And while pouring, you're actually serving two functions. You're removing some of the moisture from the bin, and you're also aerating your pile a little bit. So after you've placed in a lot of different food scraps to your bin, you're gonna wanna stir that around every now and then. So here we just have a trowel. And at least once a week, or if it starts to smell, you're gonna really want to aerate your pile even more. So I'll get that started, mix everything in. Okay, doesn't need to be mixed tremendously right now because we don't have a lot of things. If you're feeling fancy, you can even find some nylon mesh to insert into your compost bin, and so that the excess moisture drains to the bottom. You could even drill some holes in the bottom of your bin itself to have it drain out into a lid if you're feeling really fancy. Another way to help generate or to help start your compost out is to add some soil from the outside into the bin. That'll help get some of the microorganisms already in soil into your bin, and so that it can start the process right away. So remember to feed your pile, make sure that it's getting proper aeration, and make sure that it's not building up too much moisture. That's all I have today. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to tune in to our next video.